Good morning, Archer. Welcome to our third Forces Female Speaker Series. We are very grateful to the National Coalition of Girls Schools who've helped promote this and are connecting our live stream to girls all over the country so that we can share these amazing stories that you're about to hear live with girls all over the country. I mentioned Oprah Winfrey's Golden Globes speech at our groundbreaking event, and I just want to begin this morning's event by recalling it one more time, because she said something that I think is so critically important for all of us as women to hold on to, which is that we need to tell our stories. We need to speak our truth. And whether it's racism or sexism, we all know that it can be incredibly hard to tell the truth about your experience because there are consequences. And women in particular have to weigh those consequences all the time. So I want you to think about that. What does it mean to speak your truth, and how does someone find the courage to tell their story when you know there may be backlash or consequences, or some people might not want to hear it? How do you summon that courage? I believe that part of it is that we have to have role models for that kind of courage. And we have to be brave enough to take a chance and know that by speaking our truth, we open the door for others. So with that, welcome to the third Forces Female Speaker Series, and I'm going to turn it over to your ASB President, Maya Winkler.
Good morning, Archer, and good morning to everyone else out there, everywhere, watching this. We're so lucky to have the opportunity to hear the stories of these three incredible women with us today. Ms. English, thank you so much for sharing those words. I think the Oprah Winfrey Golden Globe speaks really spoke to all of us, and I'm sure we're gonna touch on that some more today. So without further ado, please welcome the senior class representatives who are going to introduce our guests.
So first, we have Cindy Holland. Ms. Holland is the VP for Original Content at Netflix, where she is responsible for acquiring and launching original series for the over 100 million Netflix global members. Under Ms. Holland's purview, her team has launched award-winning and critically acclaimed projects that span drama, comedy, family YA, documentaries, stand-up specials, and docu-series. Previously, Ms. Holland oversaw domestic TV licensing for Netflix after starting her career at the company in DVD acquisition. Before Netflix, she held various business and creative development roles at e-commerce startup Cosmo.com and for film production companies including Mutual Film Company in Baltimore/Spring Creek.
Next, we have Lisa McKnight. Ms. McKnight serves as Senior Vice President and Global General Manager for Mattel's Barbie brand, a role she has held since 2016. In this role, she leads a global team focused on brand strategy, product development, and marketing execution for Barbie. Ms. McKnight has been instrumental in evolving the brand to make it more relevant and compelling to girls and parents around the world, leading to consistently improved retail sales and deeper consumer engagement. In 2016, she was recognized as Adweek's Brand Genius and serves on the boards of Maker Women and the Toy Industry Association Foundation.
And lastly, we have Lauren Morris. Ms. Morris is head of design for the Spectacles team at Snap Inc., also known as Snapchat, where she oversees a team focused on industrial design, user experience, concept development, graphics, and art direction. Last year, she was featured as one of Fast Company's 100 most creative people in business. She holds a Bachelor's of Science in Industrial Design and has spent her career designing consumer products, including several years focused on eyewear design and wearable objects. Ms. Morris is thrilled by the opportunity to influence how the objects around us will look and behave in the future, and strives to create products that facilitate beautiful, meaningful, and uncomplicated experiences.
All right, thank you so much. Just a quick note, we are in the middle of a very, very exciting Archer Forward project. So if you hear some construction, all that means is that they're cheering along with us, and the construction workers are just as excited about this panel as we are. With that, we will get started. Welcome, ladies. We're so lucky to have you here today. If we could just go down the line, and if you could just share what draws you to be with us here today.
Well, I've heard a lot about Archer from friends who've had girls in school here, and just the notion of, I grew up in a very small town, and sort of a Friday Night Lights kind of town. It was a very small school. It was co-ed, and there was maybe one all-female school that was 50 miles away. So drawn to come and see what it's all about, and really impressed with the tour here, and I wish I had the kind of school available to me when I was a kid.
Thank you.
Well, hi, everyone. Am I on? Yes. Well, I'm thrilled to be here. I am personally and professionally really driven by girl empowerment. And on a personal note, I have had the privilege of meeting Miss English before and have been wildly impressed by what she's doing and leading here at Archer. I've also, I am personal friends with Felicia Pack, who many of you may know. So I have been close to what Archer has been up to, and of course I've got good friends that have children here as well. I myself went to an all-girls school in San Francisco. I have 2 daughters, and so from a personal standpoint, I'm very focused on advancing both them and girls. And on a professional note, I'm leading the Barbie brand, which is the leading girl property in the toy industry, and it's an incredible platform, and we have an opportunity to really create meaningful social impact and to inspire the next generation of girls. So personally and professionally, couldn't be more excited to be here for the discussion.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here today. I had the honor of meeting an Archer senior at a talk that I did at the Teen Vogue Summit late last year, who connected me with leadership here and invited me to join the panel. So thank you very much for that introduction and for that connection. I went to an all-girls high school in Phoenix, Arizona, so I just felt an immediate affinity towards coming here and sharing my story with all of you. I had a similar experience. I think my school is a little bit bigger than yours, but very, very excited to share my journey and any advice that I can offer. It's a really important topic for me to be supporting young women that are interested in fields that are similar to mine.
Awesome, thank you. First question, Ms. English mentioned the Golden Globe speech, and with all the Me Too movement and the Time's Up movement, all the supportive female empowerment we see nowadays in media and kind of just in our everyday lives, what do you feel are the most important messages to convey? And whoever would like to speak to this first.
Okay, I can start.
Okay.
Absolutely blown away by, of course, Oprah's speech, as well as by the entire Time's Up movement. And I think what's exciting is that we're at a tipping point right now in society where the world is listening. The world is listening, the world is watching, and waiting for us to do something to drive change. And so what are we going to do with all of that? So what I am doing personally on the Barbie brand is trying to change, first of all, perception about Barbie. Barbie has been around for almost 60 years, and with that comes legacy that can be positive, but also there can be some negative baggage associated with that. But what's fascinating is when you go back to the original intent behind the brand, she was about giving choices to girls. Before Barbie was created, the only doll that existed for girls were baby dolls. And so girls were naturally inclined to role play, nurturing, and imagining themselves as a mom when they grow up, which is wonderful and incredibly important. But girls didn't have the same choices as boys did and couldn't imagine themselves in other roles. And Barbie was created to give girls the opportunity to imagine themselves as an astronaut, to imagine themselves as a teacher, as a pilot, and so on. And that's a message that I'm trying to resurrect again today, to create that relevancy and to use the brand to serve as a role model for girls so they know that they can be anything. And so with that, we're creating lots of career play sets and career dolls, and we're also honoring and shining a light on women themselves that are breaking boundaries. So someone that we've been working with is Ava DuVernay, who was actually friends with Oprah, who just filmed the movie Wrinkle in Time. She's an amazing director. And so we created a one-of-a-kind doll of Ava DuVernay to shine a light on her and use our platform to give her more exposure to girls. So that's just one example, and I can talk more about other examples.
Yeah, we work closely with Ava as
Yeah.
well. We did a documentary 13, and she is going to be directing the Central Park 5 story for us this year and next. So she's a fantastic role model, I think, somebody that you should have in a future speaker series for sure, because she is a very impressive and motivating speaker. I happened to be in the room at the Golden Globes, and I hope it was as powerful for everybody watching on television as it was for those of us in the room. I've been around the entertainment industry for 24 years. So you can imagine I've seen and heard a lot of different things, and the culture and toxicity that can exist sometimes was certainly prevalent when I was a young woman starting in the business. I learned very quickly that you had a few options, right? If things would happen to someone that we knew, I was like, well, you can tell somebody. Okay, you tell somebody in a position of power. Are you going to be believed or not believed? And even if you are believed, what are your options? You're going to be that person, and you're not going to be able to get the next job, right? And that was a really difficult situation that, unfortunately, practically, some women faced. I was in a fortunate position of, it was the more casual sexism and being the only female of power in a room most of the time throughout my career until the last few years, probably. I was raised in an environment where my parents told me I could be anything I wanted to be. Told me I could go to any school I wanted to go to. I could have any career I wanted to have. And I believed them. And I went to Stanford for school. I started in the entertainment business. And that's when I started to feel the limitations of my gender. But I also felt it was a challenge and an opportunity as well, because you just have to be that much better, at least in those days, for sure. And I've enjoyed a very good career. I feel like this moment in time is necessary. It's cathartic. It's very important, not only for those of us who've lived through these times, but more importantly, for all of you. Because we want to have a safe work environment. We want to have an environment that embraces inclusivity and diversity, that welcomes it, that demands it. I work very hard in the programming that we create to welcome voices of all kinds. We certainly have an emphasis on programming for women. It's something that I'm quite proud of. We have long-term relationships now with Shonda Rhimes and Jenji Cohen and many others. But it's been a challenge to really bring forth in Ava DuVernay. It's been a challenge to bring forth women at the higher ends of the industry, because the lower ends of the industry historically haven't supported and haven't opened enough doors. So that's something that we're looking to do too. Really pushing for female hires both in front of and behind the camera at all levels of our productions and also inside our company. But with respect to Me Too specifically, I think we're going through this period where people are really speaking up. That's the first and really important step that will help us all lead toward long-term systemic change.
Thank you.
I was born and raised in Southeast Asia, so I was, at the time, it felt very normal to me. I didn't move to the States until I was in late middle school. But what it did was really prepared me to exist in a world where I was a minority, interestingly. So when I lived over there, I looked very different than most people out in Singapore, Jakarta, and Kuala Lumpur. So then fast forward to me deciding to major in a Bachelor of Science in Industrial Design, majoring in a scientific field with an artistic twist. In college, I was one of just a few women who were applied to the program and were accepted. And then again, in my first few years of my career, and then even now, I find myself as a minority in a different way, which is to be one of the few women in the room. And I think those early years really prepared me for that challenge of being empowered to speak my mind and to speak up and not be afraid to share my opinion and my point of view. You know, for better or worse, I think maybe it was a little naive, but I actually felt very empowered to do that from a really young age. And yeah.
Thank you. This is a question specifically for Ms. McKnight. I think when a lot of us think of Barbie, we do think of the skinny blonde doll. And, you know, in terms of body image specifically, what are some new initiatives you are taking at Mattel to combat that sort of stigma around the skinny girl blondie Barbie doll?
Yes. Great question. Was expecting it. Well, like I said earlier, you know, Barbie has 60 years of legacy, and there's a blessing with that legacy, and there's also challenges with that. She's, throughout the decades, become iconic. And so there is this perpetuation of the skinny, blonde, blue-eyed Malibu Barbie girl that's out there. And while that's appealing in some regards, we absolutely knew a few years ago, after listening to society, listening to our girls, listening to parents, that we had to evolve. And for the brand to survive for the next 50, 60 years, you know, it was critical that we were connecting to culture and that we were relevant. So to do that, we had to address her body. And so 2 years ago, we introduced body diversity. We introduced curvy Barbie. We introduced petite, tall. We also have been expanding ethnic diversity. We've got now 25 skin tones and 55 different hair fibers and hairstyles, and we've added diversity last year to Ken. And so now there's Husky Ken. And we've got Ken with a man bun. But what I want to share that's so exciting is that not only consciously is it, and you know, from a societal standpoint, is it the right thing to do, but it's resonating and working. Our sales are growing. Our product line is the most diverse offering out there in the marketplace. And last year, our #1 selling doll was a curvy redhead wearing a girl power shirt. Nice. You know, it's really rewarding and exciting. And the point of all this, again, is to be relevant and to make sure that every girl sees herself, you know, in the line. Yeah. But that said, we've got the 60 years of legacy. So, changing the perception of the brand is absolutely going to take time, and we're on a journey. And so I call it progress, but certainly not perfection yet.
Thank you. I've spoken about my brother in previous panels, but Sebastian, my younger brother, would especially appreciate that because when we were little, I was obsessed with American Girl. That was my doll. And he's 2 years younger than me, so he was really jealous that I got to play with my American Girls and he didn't have one. So one day when we were going to get our hair cut, he brought my Samantha doll with us, and Samantha got her hair cut, and she became, I forgot his name, I think it was like Carl or something like that. So when I told him about this panel today, he said, make sure you ask about Ken dolls. So I appreciate that answer very much. Thank you. We have 3 students, actually. We opened up some a survey for student questions for this panel. So we're going to now open it up to the 3 students who offered up some questions. Sibel, would you like to share your first question? We can share a mic. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Sibel. I'm a senior. You sort of touched on this already, but how do you create a marketable product without reinforcing harmful female beauty standards?
Yeah. Perhaps Ms. Morris and Ms. Holland can speak to this.
Yeah, I can take the first stab at it. So for us, it's really, really important that we show our product. So Spectacles, actually the hardware product that we produced and we launched about 1.5 years ago, show it on a wide range of faces. The product is unisex, so right off the bat, it's meant to fit a range of people. It's a difficult thing to do with a wearable device, but we use materials that enabled us to allow it to be adjustable to a certain extent. So first starting with the physical object, making sure that it fits as many people as it possibly can. And then on top of that, doing everything that we can to make sure that it appeals to a wide range of people, showing it on different faces, different diversity, different skin tones, and male, female. And it was just really important for us to show it on a lot of different faces.
Thank you.
Well, from a programming perspective, I talked about it a little bit. You think about half the world's population are women, female. Half of our membership base is female. So, I get asked in the media, it's like, why is it so important to, have female-oriented programming? I was like, well, half the world's population is female, and half of our membership is female. It's such an odd question to get, right? And I try to be polite about it, but we've tried to be pretty progressive, and it's very important even from the first year of our original series initiative. When we released Orange is the New Black, it was very important for us for people to see women of all shapes, colors, sizes, orientations, identities, and to see them as human beings, flawed perhaps, and we've kind of extended that through all of our programming. Certainly, Grace and Frankie was, people told us like, why is it, is there really a market for programming for older women? I was like, yes, absolutely, and there are a bunch of younger women who love that show too. Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin are icons for all ages as far as I'm concerned. And it's good business and it's good programming. Something that we're really proud of is that out of both of the last 2 years, for the Screen Actors Guild nominations, Netflix has 4 out of 5 of the nominees for female drama and female comedy. And so it's something that we're really committed to and we're very proud of.
Can you speak just a little bit more about Orange is the New Black specifically? Because I think that's a show I love. And I know that it was based on a true story. So how did that come to life on Netflix?
Yeah, a woman named Piper Kerman wrote an autobiography called Orange is the New Black, and she had been a well-educated woman who had made some unfortunate decisions and went to federal prison for drug trafficking, unfortunately. Please don't do that. Don't find yourself there. But she wrote a book about it, and about really, it was not just her story of survival in that environment, but it was about the larger issue of women in prison, the societal forces that create a system that lands them there, and also how difficult it is depending on what social status you have when you come out, how difficult the reentry process is. And so it's a really powerful autobiography that she had written. Jenji Cohen, who had created Weeds for Showtime, and we had Weeds on the Netflix service at the time. She had a clear vision for adapting it and wanted to tell these women's stories, and felt that the Piper character was really the Trojan horse into the really interesting world, and it is a fascinating exploration, and we just finished our 6th season, which will be out this summer.
Very excited, as am I. Very much looking forward to that. Next student-led question. Gemma, do you want to take it away?
Hi, I'm Gemma. I'm also a senior. So I was wondering how you guys knew you were doing the right thing, and that's kind of vague, but what I mean is, with all the challenges you face, just growing up, I know we're seniors, we're moving into our lives as adults, like, how did you know you were going down the right path? How did you know you were doing the right thing?
Good question.
I don't know that is there a right? I think right for me, I guess, or right for each individual is probably the way that I'll think about it. Let's see. I knew I wanted to go to Stanford. I happened to be born there. My dad was in law school there, but I'm from a small town in Nebraska. I was raised there, and a small school that was an environment where kids didn't go to schools like that. Like most kids were, families that had been there for 100 years in the area and went to local universities and such, which is fine for them. But my parents had imprinted on me this sort of passion and desire. So I was fortunate enough to get in when I applied. But since I graduated from school, I think in terms of general career, I focused on doing something that interested me and that I was passionate about. And the moment that I was no longer interested, I wanted to go do something else. And I've been fortunate in my career that I've managed to sort of move seamlessly among sort of development and production, finance and distribution, moving to e-commerce, and then to Netflix. And when I first started at Netflix, I didn't expect that I would be creating original programming for Netflix. We were buying DVDs and sending through the mail to people. So, but when around the time when we decided we might want to do it, I said, well, you know, I've done 7 years of development, production, and finance work in my past. And so we were sort of, you know, smart enough and foolish enough and interested enough to just push forward. But I think the key for me is do what you're passionate about, because that'll lead for a more fulfilling life and a longer, more interesting career, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say, first of all, I think we have to all give ourselves permission that you might choose a lot of paths in life. And so it's really about what's right now. What's right for you at the moment in time. Doesn't mean it's forever. So as you guys are thinking about internship opportunities or the college you might want to go to and what that could lead to, know that you can pivot anytime you want. And it's all about, you know, again, what you're feeling in that moment, and of course driven by passion and your interests. What I've learned along the way that's interesting is sometimes when you think about your career, you think about the function of the job. But what's really rewarding is the intangibles. You know, so working at Mattel, which is a toy company, you know, has a lot of creativity to it. So if you're a creative person, if you're interested in the arts, if you're a storyteller, there's application to a job in the toy industry. So think about your passion points in that way versus functionally kind of what do you like to do. I'd like to also quickly touch on you know, mentorship and sponsorship and all of that, because what's helped me a lot in my career has been those connections, those personal relationships, and not being afraid to ask for help, being curious, and having a lot of really amazing women on my side. And I've changed jobs because of women bringing me along with them, or encouraging me to try something new. And then I've rotated even within Mattel because of just really exciting sponsorship opportunities, people that have cheered me on. So it's important that you guys early on find those great mentors and those sponsors that can assist you.
Just add one more little thing, just touching on what both Cindy and Lisa mentioned to you. You definitely need that passion. I think you should pursue things that you love and that you're passionate about. You will enjoy them that much more, and you'll work that much harder because it's important to you. And then it's totally fine to pivot, and in fact, it may actually make you much more well-rounded. So you'll go down one avenue and decide you want to switch gears and try something new. Who knows, one day you might go back to that first path, and it will make you that much more of a well-rounded contributor. The third thing that I would add to that is perseverance. You're going to experience a lot of failures and mistakes, and that's actually looking back on some of my biggest mistakes in my career, or failures, or times where I didn't get a yes. It actually made me a better person, really. I mean, we all know that, but it also made me just more focused in my career. Those failures led me to new opportunities, new doors opened. It made me stronger. It made me that much more passionate about the things that I really wanted to pursue. So don't be afraid that first time you get told no, that second time, that third time, keep trying if it's something that you're passionate about. And in the end, you'll end up potentially even more successful than if you'd gotten that first yes.
I also think that persevering is sometimes easier said than done. You know, we're told no with the college process, or we're told no by a parent, and sometimes in the moment, you just want to run away. Ms. Morris, you just mentioned some failures. Can you give an anecdote of, you know, in that moment when you are told no, or you are said you have to go another route, what is the best, most effective, immediate response?
When you're told no.
Yeah.
Well, I cried a lot first. I'm thinking of one moment in particular when I interviewed for a job. I was contacted by a recruiter just a couple of years out of college for an opportunity at a think tank design firm in Basel, Switzerland. They flew me out to interview. It went really well, I thought, and about a month later, maybe a month and a half, they took their time. It was a no. It came down to me and one other candidate that spoke Swiss German, and I didn't speak Swiss German, so small detail. I was really committed to learn it. Ended up not getting that opportunity, but what happened then is, after the tears dried, really a new passion, like a stronger fire grew inside of me to try something else, but to try even harder and to keep following that dream. And that actually led me to make the decision. I was living in Phoenix, Arizona again at the time. That led me to the decision to move to New York City, which is where I happened to meet a future colleague, and it led me into the world of eyewear design. And I wouldn't be sitting here today necessarily, at least not under these circumstances, if I hadn't gotten that no and had decided to move to New York. So it's okay to be disappointed, embrace it, it's part of life, it's part of learning. Pick yourself back up, and it'll just sort of light that fire inside of you when you get a no.
No's are hard. Those are not easy. Last student question. I believe Hannah Kim has a question. Yeah, go for it.
Hi, my name is Hannah. I'm a sophomore. And just a quick note, I just wanted to say my dad works in Mattel, and we were talking about how important it is to have a female voice in the toy industry. And my question is, just as you all are role models for young women today, who are your role models when you were our age or younger?
It's a pretty common answer, but honestly, my mom. She got her master's in education and was always working, from an early age, and had a variety of different careers and did an amazing job balancing it all. And right out of the gate, again, like you, I never thought I couldn't do everything. She encouraged me when I was young and I wanted to play on a team sport. The only team around was an all-boys team. And she just shoved me up there and said, go play. And it was great. And I loved it. And so anyway, pretty common answer, but absolutely. And I do think that obviously there's amazing role models in culture. Certainly I mentioned Ava DuVernay earlier. There are so many trailblazers doing amazing things. I've been very inspired, I'm sure you guys have too, by all the athletes in the Olympics. So I take a lot of inspiration from many places, but at the heart of it, it's definitely family.
Same for me. My mother really, from an early age, just like Cindy was saying, my parents really supported me in pursuing anything that really interested me. So my mother certainly was a very strong supporter and very open to encouraging me in whatever path I chose. I was very, very inspired as a senior in high school or junior in high school by Bjork. And I want to just kind of bring that up, that it's okay, obviously it's fine to have role models that do things that maybe you don't want to do. I knew I didn't have a great singing voice, so I wasn't going to try to be a singer just like her, but something that really spoke to me about her in particular is obviously she just expresses herself very openly and very freely. She does not hold back. She is who she is, and she literally wears it. And I really admired that. I really admired her innovation and the music that she made, and it inspired me to want to be innovative myself, to build things that people had never seen before, to create experiences that might make people think a little bit differently or maybe feel a little uncomfortable, but to take people out of their shells. And then recently, my admiration for her has grown even more. There was an article where she was quoted saying that women are the glue. And I really love that metaphor. Glue dries invisible, and sometimes the connections that women make are overlooked or maybe not appreciated. But oftentimes I find in my life that the most exciting collaborations or the most exciting projects that come together, it's because of a woman or women who have made the connections on a human level, brought people together, helped people to communicate more effectively. Sometimes I'm in a room and one person will say something and the other person will say the exact same thing because they weren't really listening, but oftentimes it takes a woman in the room sometimes to help those two people communicate or see that they're actually saying the same thing. So that really spoke to me, and I think what we need to endeavor to do is to be maybe type of glue that dries like a bright color so that you can see it. But anyway, I was really inspired by her.
We should start tie-dyeing our glue. I think that'd be really cool. Glitter glue, yes.
My references will date me because I'm older. When I was a little kid, Ann and Nancy Wilson apart because they were the first female rock stars, and they rocked it harder than any of the guys I was watching. So it was that. The original Charlie's Angels series, Sabrina Duncan, because she wore pants, she was really smart, and I liked Pinto. And at the same time, on the air, was Cher, because she was smart, strong, she looked fabulous, and she was unafraid of anything, and I love that about her.
I feel the same way about Lindsey Vonn, the Olympic skier. I'm so obsessed with her, and if I could ski down a mountain 4,000 miles an hour, I would, but I can't, so instead I look up to her as one of my role models, besides Miss English, obviously. Next question. In each of your industries, where do you think is the area that needs most work? Either, specific to encouraging women or just progress in general?
I mean, mine's the softball. It's the Me Too movement, really. It's something that people have struggled with silently for a long time, and given the current political environment and with the advent of social media, I think, finally people are being heard, they're being believed, and it will lead to real and lasting change. And the more women we have in roles like mine who are making the programming decisions and encouraging people to hire inclusively, I think the better off we'll be.
I would say, well, from an industry perspective, the toy industry, unfortunately, is very old school. And so it's still very male-dominated and very white male-dominated to that. So obviously, that's got to evolve for many reasons. I'm thrilled to be working for a company that has a female CEO that actually came from Google, of all things. So you can imagine how she's turning everything on its head and driving us in a really exciting, positive, transformative trajectory, which is great. But the industry still has a long way to go. I'm on the board of the Industry Foundation, and am being as vocal as I can to try to get more diversity, even on the board. And by the way, with diversity too, it's about youth too. It's not just about having these senior elder folks at the table. There is so much wisdom coming up from this next generation that you guys are all a part of. And the more we can learn from this younger generation, again, it's another great important voice at the table, and the better we'll all be.
Something that's very important to me right now is mentorship, both outside of the company that I work for, as well as within the company at Snap. I've had the honor of meeting recently with some of our senior female leadership in the company, and we're making it a regular thing. And I think, at least for me and my team, my last 2 hires have been women, which I'm really, really happy with. They're incredible contributors, and I'm trying to shift the balance to be more equal on my team. And I do often find myself to be one of the only women in the room. which I'm not afraid of, like I said, but I think the more that I'm able personally to connect with other women in my company, which we have sort of diversity resource groups at our company. One of them is called Lady Chillas, kind of like the Snapchat Ghost Beach Chilla. Lady Chillas is our diversity resource group for women. I'm on the steering committee for that group. We host programs that we invite everyone to, and in fact, we encourage our male allies to join us just as much as we encourage the women to join those conversations, because it's just as important that we have men supporting, our endeavors as the women themselves. But so for me, mentorship is now, and I think going forward this year is going to be my biggest focus. Finding mentors myself, being a mentor to others in the company. I think that's something that could really just help women to feel supported and that much more engaged and encouraged to stay with the company.
Thank you. Mr. McKnight, you touched on bringing up the youth into new industries, but if you could talk to your younger selves, what would be the one thing you would say, hey, listen, you need to know this before you become the vice president of Netflix, or anything like that?
I don't know that I would, I guess I would tell her to know that her parents were right, that she could be anything, and to not accept other people's ideas and limitations. Because I had other people along the way tell me that I couldn't do something, or because their minds were too closed, right? I think that's the most important thing to keep in mind, is you actually can do and be who you want.
Yeah, I would say two things. I would say one is related, don't let anyone define who you are. You own that. You own your own narrative. And it's easy to get defined. So make sure that you are constantly self-aware and aware of how people are viewing you, and make sure that that's the narrative that you want. I would also say, be a good listener. I say to my kids all the time, listen, please. But seriously, be a good listener. Listen to different perspectives. You do not want to find yourself in an echo chamber where you're all saying the same thing to each other and everyone's reinforcing what each other's saying. While that's exciting and encouraging and great validation, the more debate, discussion that you have from listening to different people's perspectives, the better decisions you're going to make, and the better, I think, you're going to drive whatever your various sort of initiatives are.
Be yourself and trust your gut. My intuition and trusting my gut is actually a big part of my job day to day. It's hard to quantify design and why something feels right. It just feels right. But even going into my career, I knew what I wanted to do. I think by the time I was 16 or 17, I knew I wanted to study industrial design. And even if you don't have an idea of what you want to do, but you know what you're interested in, just being yourself and not being afraid to sort of blaze a new path. If the thing that you're interested in, no one's done it before, or there is no exact path for you to follow, create your own path. So trust your gut and be yourself.
Thank you. I think we have time for just a couple more quick questions. A little bit more surface, but that's okay. I think we're all curious. Could you, each one of you, take us through, what does your day look like in the office?
I don't have a normal day in the office, to be honest. It's everything from working with writers to visiting production sets, to watching rough cuts of projects, to strategic planning meetings for the business side of what I do at Netflix. So it really varies. I could be many places in the world on any given week.
I would say likewise. Ouch. I don't have a typical day either, and I think that's what I love about what I do. Every day is different. Every day is a learning opportunity. But to start, I would say the day begins getting my family out the door, and it's chaos, and it's messy, and we're always late. so I'll just share that. And then when I go to work, I'm all over the place. I'll just give you yesterday as an example. I was meeting with an augmented reality company to think about ways that we could enhance our Barbie career dolls and create experiences where you could actually imagine yourself in the role of one of these careers. I then went to product approvals, and I looked at new face sculpts for dolls, and I looked at different play sets. I had a team strategy meeting. I met with finance. I met with supply chain. So it's all over the map, and it's incredibly exhilarating, and no day's the same.
Let's see. My days are a little bit more sort of predictable in the sense that I go, but I guess the content itself is exciting. I go into an office every day in Venice Beach. I live in Culver City with my husband and my dog and my cat. And so snuggles with the dog in the morning. And my husband actually works for Snap as well. But we don't commute together because we go to different offices, though we try to reduce our carbon emissions in that sense. But unfortunately, we don't go to the same office. So say goodbye to him, go into the office, and I don't know, grab a coffee and check my emails. I really try to start the day with inbox zero, but that doesn't happen that often, unfortunately. And I have a lot of meetings. I think another goal for my year this year is saying no to more meetings, or having fewer meetings, I should say. So I have an opportunity to really serve my team that much better. I have a room full of designers. There's a lot of innovation going on, a lot of creation. We have design critiques and presentations, and but I'm also in lots of meetings with folks like supply chain and our mechanical engineering team, electrical engineering, operations, sales, marketing, you name it. We're in rooms together with each other many times per day. So a lot of meetings, and I eat on campus. We have a cafeteria, a couple of them, which I feel very fortunate to have, and in my day, and probably continue working even from home as needed, pretty much always online, but that's just how things are these days, and I've really embraced it. I think, within reason, I think that work-life balance is something to aspire towards or have a goal for, but it's also, at least in my case, not that realistic, and I don't really mind because I love what I do. So it's okay if I'm checking emails on the weekend, and we have a little bit of a flexible sort of schedule in that sense. So sort of always being on for work is something that I enjoy because I really love what I do.
Awesome, thank you. Do any of you have any parting words with our audience today? If not, we'll close it off. Yes, Miss English.
Well, for me, it's cycling. Always on the road. I'm not into spin classes, although they're great if you like them. I do a charity bike ride from San Francisco to Los Angeles.
Wow.
First week in June every year, so it's 550 miles over 7 days. And in order to do that, you have to be riding pretty consistently throughout the year, and that's sort of my meditation, and that's when there are no devices. I don't have any measuring equipment. I don't know how fast I'm going or how far I'm going, and I think it's really important because I certainly have the personality that if you give me something to measure, I will, and I will try to improve it next time. So I've taken all that off, and it's just enjoyment and exercise and freeing my brain.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would say switch mics. Okay. I would say in terms of wellness, absolutely exercise. It's, for many reasons, but definitely it's a great time to clear your head. It's when I think through a lot of what happened during the day, and also, you get those endorphins going. So that's key. I would say also, this sounds so boring, but I really do try to get sleep. Which my kids can't relate to. And sometimes I feel funny going to bed before my teenage daughters, but I have to because I've got to have so much energy when I step out the door. the next day, and I've got to bring it for a very big team, and they feed off my energy, so I've got to have that energy. Speaking of energy, I would also say where I get energy from, in addition to exercise, is from culture and getting out of the office and doing things with my kids, seeing things through their eyes, and experiencing things, whether it's live music, whether it's the arts. I draw a lot of inspiration from culture and the world around us.
Yeah, a really good night's sleep is so important for me. I'm one of those people that needs ideally 8 hours every night. I can't operate very well or very effectively, or have really good energy if I've only gotten sort of 6 hours of sleep. So I really aim for that every night. Don't always get it. Meditation is something that I think it really helps you, I don't know, have a clearer mind and feel more focused, and again, have just a more even energy. And then I love going on adventures, so every weekend we actually try to get out of LA into nature, go on hikes, looking at buying sort of property out in the desert, in the middle of nowhere, maybe building something. So trying to get out, but then balancing that with in the city cultural experiences. So going to galleries and museums and that sort of thing is really, really important for me to feel balanced.
Thank you, Ms. English. That was a key question. I think with that, we will close it off. Thank you so much for being here today. We're so lucky to have you as a part of our Friday afternoons. Thank you, Archer, for joining us.
Thank you so much. That was awesome.